So The Sims 4 has been out for a long time at this point, so I wouldn't blame you if you were starting to get kind of bored of it by now, because I know I am. I log onto the game maybe once a month, boot up a new save, then abandon it after a day of playing because I remembered why I was bored of the game. This is where challenges come in. To give The Sims 4 some credit, the devs did implement the scenarios a while ago, which introduce an in-game challenge for players to try. These range from trying to make 1 million simoleons to other more obscure ones like the unlucky chef scenario. But before this, there were classic player-created challenges. If you've been playing The Sims for any amount of time, you might have heard of the Legacy Challenge, the Rags to Riches Challenge, or the one which we'll be focusing on today, the 100 Baby Challenge. Some of you may be wondering why I've chosen now to create this video when both The Sims 4 and the challenge in general has been out for so long. Well, the game has evolved a lot since the original creator stopped posting updates for their original set of rules, and there has been a lot of ways to make this challenge run more efficiently, given the DLC which has been added since then. So if you are looking for a fun and at times certainly challenging way to play The Sims 4, this video will be giving you a rundown on the main rules for the 100 Baby Challenge, some tips and tricks which I've picked up during my time of attempting this challenge, and also some pack recommendations sprinkled throughout. But before we get into all of that, if you are new here, my name is Yasmin, and in this little corner of the internet we play Animal Crossing, The Sims, and other cozy simulation games like that. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, perhaps consider subscribing or checking out my channel for other videos you may enjoy. So I was struggling to pin down exactly where the 100 Baby Challenge originated from, but this Polygon article points to it being created by a player called Amy Says back during The Sims 2 days. But from what I can see, this challenge was converted to The Sims 4 by Ashley825, who also goes by Snarky Witch. In a summary, and pretty simply, the aim of this challenge is to have 100 babies in as few generations as possible. I will be leaving a link to Snarky Witch's rules in the description down below if you want to check out the full list for yourself, but the basic rules are as follows. 1. You start by creating a young adult female sim, or given the gender altering options added a few years ago, any sim who can get pregnant. You have to play with normal lifespan enabled, and your main childbirthing sim cannot get pregnant from the same sim twice. So having a big list of the men's is gonna be pretty important. Now, don't worry, you don't have to sit through the entire life of every child you have, because that would get pretty tedious, and no doubt most of us would have quit after having like 2 babies. So you are incentivized to increase the grades and skills of your kids to grow them up faster, so you can move them out faster and make room for more babies. You don't have to do this, but it is an option. Within this, babies can be aged up once you get the notification saying it's their birthday. Toddlers can be aged up once they have level 3 in all of their skills, and children and teens can be aged up once they have an A grade in school. Now, although your main sim won't age while they are pregnant, when they do eventually become an elder, your youngest daughter should take over the responsibility of having the babies. I believe there are also some additional rules depending on which packs you have installed, which is why again I suggest you look over the full list of rules. But with this said, please do bear in mind that you are still playing a video game and it is still meant to be fun. A big tip I have for you is that if you find any of the rules too restrictive, then discard them. I, for example, like to ignore the add-on rule if parenthood is installed, which dictates that teens must have a character value within the range to earn an additional trait before they can be aged up, as I personally have never been too concerned with that system added to the game, and as I've been playing my own baby challenge, I've realized that I like to keep it as fast paced as I can. Also, I know some players like to use mods which allow you to expand the number of sims you can have in your household, which is technically against the rules. However, again, you play the game how you want to play it. I haven't personally used any mods like MC Command Center, which lets you expand your household in The Sims 4, but I have used the NRAS mods when I tried the challenge in The Sims 3, and it certainly allowed for much more chaos and fun. Now we've got these basic rules out the way, I want to share some tips and tricks which I have picked up during my time of playing this challenge recently. As I go, some tips will depend on which packs you own, but I'll point out which packs you will need if you want to utilize a certain trick in your own game. But also, to be clear, you don't need any DLC to complete this challenge, but having some will certainly make your experience easier and perhaps more varied. I'm gonna break these tips and tricks roughly into categories category, so let's firstly begin with helpful skills for the childbearing sim. For the 100 baby challenge I'm working on at the moment, I've set my matriarch up with a few options for making money. Firstly, painting, which I know is a pretty standard and fairly OP way of making money in this game, especially when you use the digital art tablet with the upgrade installed in combination with the marketable and creative visionary reward traits purchased, which increase the value of work sold and increase the chances of creating masterpiece quality works. Then, to add to that, through selling so many paintings, my sim has become a B-list celebrity, as I've got the Get Famous expansion pack installed, and one of the perks I have unlocked meant that creations my sim made were worth more. Next, I mentioned the upgrade for the digital art tablet was helpful, and the handiness skill in general is not only useful for fixing items around the house and upgrading objects and appliances, but it's also a great way to make some money through crafting furniture on the workbench. And finally, gardening is another stream of income I've been using. If you have City Living installed, you can find rare fruits and flowers pretty easily by visiting the romance and spice festivals. Making money is really important in this challenge if you want to move your children into their own homes eventually. I believe a while ago, when you set up a new household, they would automatically be given the starting amount of funds, but this has changed now, I believe. So if you don't want your babies to live in the void, having some extra cash to buy them a starter home is super helpful. Now let's talk about increasing fertility. This is going to be super important if you want to get through this challenge faster, as certain aspects increase your chances of having twins or triplets. The first way to do this is accessible in the base game, and that is through the fertile reward trait, which costs 3,000 reward points. Two other base game reward traits I recommend you save for are Great Kisser, where sims increase their charisma with each kiss interaction they perform, and trust me, you'll be doing that a lot, and Beguiling, which makes other sims around you feel flirty. These cost 3,000 and 250 reward points respectively. Next, if you have the City Living expansion pack installed, I suggest adding the On the Ley Line trait to your home. This also increases the chances of having twins or triplets. Two other lot traits I also recommend you having include Good Schools, which boosts school performance for children and teens, meaning you can hopefully age them up and move them out faster, and Child's Play, which allows for children to learn faster. Both of these require City Living. Alternatively, I've been playing in a house which, instead of Child's Play, uses the Study Spot trait included with the Discover University expansion pack, which allows for children and teens to complete their homework faster and also gives all sims on the lot a small boost to skill gains. Returning to fertility, if you have the Spa-Day game pack, you can get a fertility massage, which gives you a boost to that, which lasts a good few hours. I believe it costs around 3,800 simoleons, but when you have some spare cash, I'd say it's definitely worth it, you know, trying to squeeze everything out of every single pregnancy. And finally, if you have the Outdoor Retreat game pack, the herbalism skill allows you to create the elixir of fertility. I personally don't have Outdoor Retreat, but I'd be very interested to get it just to try out this elixir so I can see just how much all of these stack. So now you've hyper boosted your reproductive abilities, let's talk about how to actually manage your horde of spawn, starting with the toddlers. Firstly, do not under any circumstances buy high chairs. We all know how janky the Sims 4 can be sometimes with completing animations, Sims getting stuck, etc. So just cut out the middleman and don't bother with the high chair. If there is food placed on a table, a counter, the floor, or wherever, just not in a fridge or container, toddlers can grab plates for themselves. Here, if you have the Get to Work expansion pack installed, I'd recommend using the bakery fridges introduced with that pack, as they allow for plates of food to be kept refrigerated while still being accessible to toddlers. But again, if you don't have that pack, just drag a plate of food from the fridge, let the toddler grab a plate, and then put it away again. In terms of increasing toddler skills as fast as possible, there are a few interactions and items which seem to be much more efficient than others. Communication is by far the easiest skill to level. If you buy any of the Bluffy teddies, within around 10 run-throughs of the Babble interaction, your toddler should hit level 3. Imagination is another fairly easy one, particularly if you have the Dream Home Decorator game pack installed, which includes the play tent item. This, like Bluffy Bears, is pretty much a super fast way to get imagination to level 3 really easily. Otherwise, the dollhouse and playing with toys is another great way to increase this skill. Next, for the thinking skill, I only learnt this really recently, but using the watch interaction on other Sims levels this fairly fast. You find the interaction by clicking on a Sim, then it's usually in the second round of options under friendly interactions. Once the interaction is in progress, the option to select it again disappears, so I recommend queuing up a bunch of them before your toddler starts the first watch interaction. Movement is one which takes a while for me to level with my toddler Sims, but that is because I don't own the toddler stuff pack, which for the sake of this challenge I'm pretty tempted to buy, because some of the items in that pack, like the slide, apparently increase movement skills really quickly. The potty skill is usually the last at which my toddlers get to level 3 for a few reasons. Firstly, you need an adult Sim to teach toddlers while on the potty until they reach the first skill point. Then secondly, it's just pretty slow to increase in general, sadly. Aside from the interactions and objects I've just mentioned, using the stacking blocks object and the Wabbit tablet are two items which toddlers can build most skills with, and they are super handy for keeping them occupied too. Now let's move on to talking about children. In order for children to reach an A in school, they need to have reached level 4 in one skill. This is pretty easy to do for most of the children's skills, but what I would recommend you do with children and also teens is turning them into fishing robots. Hear me out here. For children, fishing levels their mental skill and it also gets them out of the house, which when you have 8 Sims kicking about is kind of a godsend. Also, if you're strapped for cash, this helps bring in a little bit more income, especially if kids get good catches like the voodoo doll object, which sells for 950 simoleons. Also, when the weekend rolls around, it's really good to just send your kids out fishing all day. After one weekend, my child Sims have usually maxed out their mental skill and have made some good progress into the fishing skill, which is unlocked after maxing out the mental skill. I didn't know this, but according to Carl's Sim Guide, when a child has maxed out one of the 4 initial skills available to them, they complete their homework at a rate of 70% faster. I should probably note here that my child Sim's ability to complete their skills so fast was definitely aided by the fact that I have all eligible family members in a club, an option which is available if you have Get Together installed. In this club, the club activities I have selected are do homework, clean, and go fishing. From this, I've racked up thousands of club points and have been able to buy all of the perks I've wanted and then some. I'm pretty sure I could afford nearly every single perk if I bothered to go in and buy them all. I also have my matriarch Sim in the club too, so it's been helpful for getting all of her skills up. I think by now she's maxed around 5 skills alongside having 18 children. With teens, there's honestly not much to write home about, again alongside having them in this fishing club. With the glot traits and club perks I have enabled, they are more or less guaranteed to have the skill requirements for becoming an A-level student already achieved as soon as they age up. I have them complete their extra credit work when the option becomes available to them when they are a B student. You find this option by clicking on a Sims homework book after they have completed their regular homework, and this also applies to children at a B grade or above. Let's now move to talking about when Sims move out of the house. So your teen has reached an A in school, they've blown out the birthday candles, they've done that little spin with the sparkles, and they're now officially adults. What happens now? My advice is to move them out immediately, but before I do that, there are always a few things that I like to get done first. Firstly, I have the Sim which is moving out take a selfie or have another Sim take a picture of them. I add this picture to a wall in the home which has pictures of every baby born during the challenge. I name each picture with the number which the child was, for example baby number 1 or baby number 27, then their name, just so I can keep track. I know some players like to keep a big spreadsheet to keep track of all the babies with their traits, who their fathers were, etc. But that's not really for me. Next, I like to clean out their inventories. This includes any homework books, which I keep in a bookshelf, just in case any of the other Sims in the household at some point lose their own homework, because we all know Sims like to do that, but also just then selling any miscellaneous stuff they have in their inventories. Then I like to give them a quick makeover just so that they don't look like actual townies. I then get them a job so that they can sustain themselves when they move out into the big white world. And finally, actually moving out. As I mentioned earlier, you have to give Sims money when you move them out of an existing household if you want them to be able to afford their own home. So I usually give one Sim around 20,000 simoleons, then as other kids age up and move out, I generally put them all together in one household until that household is filled with 8 Sims, then I make a new one. This keeps things kind of tidier and easier, and it means that all of the babies in this challenge are not completely overtaking this save file, as I do play with other households from time to time in this save. Now that we've got the full neighborhood stories update for the game, I tend to typically have only the adopt a child, adopt a pet, and change jobs options enabled, I think, just so they aren't bouncing around the world or mysteriously dying. I had one of the older kids adopt a child of their own while I was playing the other day, which was super cute to see. But as for the rest of the world, I do have all options enabled just for a bit of chaos and to keep the world repopulating. But honestly, it feels sometimes other households are trying to beat me to reaching 100 babies. I'm not being funny, but Bella and Mortimer were going at it like crazy before Mortimer eventually kicked the bucket. But with that said, I think that's everything I have for you guys today. If you think I've missed anything, please feel free to leave any comments down below, or if you have any tips of your own, please leave them down there too. I know I'm still looking for as much help as I can get with this challenge. But with that said, I really hope you found this guide helpful if you're new to the 100 baby challenge. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, again, please drop them down below because I'd love to hear from you. Are you trying this challenge for yourself? And if so, how are you getting on with that? But again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.